Welcome in to the first installment of the DNVR Avalanche Trade Deadline Frenzy. We will be talking about hopefully 10. I don't know. By the time this comes out, some of these guys might be traded. So we'll see how many of them actually end up happening. But we got 10 players lined up that we wanted to do a deeper dive on to take a look at for potential targets for the Colorado Avalanche at this trade deadline. Are y'all excited for the deadline, or are y'all just already ready to get through it and get on with life?
No, I'm looking forward to it. Last year, the Avs were smashing everybody, so like the dog days of the season really felt brutal. The start of this year, I really felt was kind of like, yeah, they just won the cup. Well, let's wait till we get closer to the deadline. So I'm actually looking forward to it because, like, aside from the playoffs last year, it's like the first like meaningful stretch that we've had in a long time. It feels like
it's a fair point.
I think it'll be interesting just because we haven't seen the Avs this year
as a healthy squad.
Today, as we're recording, I guess when this gets released, we will have seen them for a few weeks, but
hopefully,
yeah.
I actually I don't think Landy will be back by.
Well, I'm not either, but I'm talking like one injury. Everybody has one injury,
right.
So
unless you're Calgary,
dude,
zing.
Yeah. Of course, you'll say that in between now and the time this gets released.
Yeah.
Nazem Kadri will blow out a knee or something awful, and it'll be like, great.
But quite the trend for them these last couple of years.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, I think it'll be interesting just because we don't know really what the Avs are and aren't right now. We have a pretty good idea. We can guess. But trying to get into the deadline of like, who can they fit? What kind of assets do they have? How desirable are they? How hot is the market? Who are they targeting? What do they need? The Avs are in such a different spot than some of the other contenders this year because they aren't going probably that big game hunting. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be in the Claude Giroux-ish rumors.
Yeah.
They were never really involved in Bo Horvat. So, it's just a really interesting deadline where now they are in full-blown contender mode where they're tweaking.
Finding the pieces that fit.
Yeah, exactly.
The first of those pieces we have on our list is everyone's favorite Edmonton Oiler. How many people? Is it anyone's favorite Edmonton Oiler? I don't know.
Great name. Strong name on this kid.
Jesse Puljujarvi.
Yesy.
Pool Party. Yeah. Is it Jesse? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I had to get something about his name wrong. Okay. It's just by law.
No, I mean, you're just so used to seeing it spelled in such a nice, neat way and such a great name.
I'm going to start calling you Jesse.
That's fine. That's fine.
Look, obviously this guy's name has been swirling all year in trade rumors and things like that. Truly multiple years wanting out of Edmonton, the whole debacle where he went back to Finland. It's been a whole thing. My question is, does he fit for Colorado?
I think so.
State your case.
I just think that this is, you mentioned it a second ago, they're not going big game hunting. And I think this is a guy, the money is very manageable. He doesn't have term beyond this year. So I think you can kind of assess. And if you bring him in here and he does fall flat on his face, you don't have to bring him back next year. And this to me just is a guy that I think you could use in your middle six effectively. He's hard. He can be hard to play against. He hunts pucks, responsible defensively. You're not asking him to fill the net, but I think he's got the offensive upside that playing with some of the players that he would be playing with here. Again, you're not asking him to be that large production, but can you provide a little bit of extra offensive punch in that middle six, in the middle part of your lineup? I think he can. I don't think he costs you very much. And he profiles the type of player that fits well in a Jared Bednar system. And again, you don't need him to be anything over the top offensively because you're fine there. And I just think he fits a couple different molds that it's kind of a low, I don't want to say like a low risk, but like it's not a home run swing and you don't need it to be.
Where to start? 10 points is a problem for me.
Sure.
Especially because he has played next to Draisaitl and McDavid this year.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe more than anything why he's on the block is because they were like, we gave you the best scenario that we could put you in to succeed.
Did they? But
And it didn't work out for him. It just didn't go well. And I mean, 10 points in 49 games. You're talking about like you're getting less production out of him than the Avs have gotten out of
Guys like Cogliano.
yeah, Andrew Cogliano. And so when you say, you know, hey, you're not asking the world of him production wise, good. That is part of the appeal. The $3 million price tag for 10 points is a problem. Just because it's just Edmonton doesn't seem keen to retain very much on it.
yeah.
Because they,
But what is that cap hit come deadline?
yeah, and it won't be very big, but the Avs won't have very much space. And so it's, if this is the move that they make, then it won't be an issue. But if they want to do this and then they want to do other things,
Right.
then that's where it just could be a sticking point.
Sure.
Given that it limits the other things that they can do. But I personally don't care.
I mean, we can bring,
About that?
we can bring up his player card here.
Yeah, so like getting to know the guy a little bit, you get to see who he is this year. Look, he's a play driver, a little bit on the offensive side, but defensively you're talking about excellent.
Right.
And this is where he's a reclamation project. He's a first-round pick that hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
He's a big body. He skates really well, and he's great defensively. Who am I describing right now?
Right.
Is it Jesse Puljujarvi or is it Valeri Nichushkin?
Right. And you don't want to go overboard with that
Of course.
comparison because that's every reclamation project the Avs have brought in since Val Nichushkin.
And will be for the next 5 years.
Right, that's where everyone goes. So you don't want to get
Exactly.
carried away with that. But that is part of the reason where you made the comment a second ago. They gave him every opportunity to succeed. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because I think they put him in a situation where it's like, hey, go score a bunch of goals. And I just don't know in the same way that we now understand that with Val Nichushkin that like when he was, drafted 10th overall, he first came into the league. It was, wow, look at this big body. He can skate. He can get to the net. He can create offensively. What a force this guy's going to be. And what we've actually learned with him is this guy is best served in that, I don't necessarily want to say checking role, but like that role on his line. Now, obviously, he's got the talent that the production came last year, and he can very easily roll with guys like Nathan McKinnon. But so much of that didn't happen just immediately getting dropped into the Avalanche system. They found a role for him that worked, and they just continued to move him up the lineup as his level of play elevated. I look at a guy like Puljujarvi, and we just said it. He does a lot of really good things.
He does a lot of really good things.
It just seems like there's a sticking point for it. So cool. Let's bring him to a team and put him in a role where all we're asking you to do is the things that you do well. For right now, all I want is the things that you do really well, and see if you can get him to follow some type of pattern similar to that of Nichushkin, where we can continue to elevate your role as your level of play comes up as you get more
I
comfortable in
just
this
don't
system.
know. As a team that's trying to contend for a cup at the deadline, I don't know that looking at reclamation projects and trying to push them up on their skill level is something they should.
Yeah, it worked out
realistically
terribly
be
with Arturi
targeting.
Lehkonen
I
last
get
year.
it. I get that it's worked out great.
Is
but
March is March the time of year where you do that?
you have 1
Where
month
you-
to get this guy
Where
sorted
you
out.
tinker with that. Whereas the difference with Lehkonen last year, he was in the middle of a career year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why weren't teams beating nothing door to trade for him a year earlier?
Right.
When he was having a normal Arturi Lehkonen's, a 25-point year or whatever. The breakout was a big part of that. With Puljujarvi, I think it's really just you are fine with who he is.
Yep.
And the Avs would not be asking the world of him, but it would probably be the thing that they do in the forward core.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say, all right, if Landeskog comes back, you then have a third line of Alex Newhook and JT Compher or Evan Rodriguez, however they want to do 2-3C, and Puljujarvi on your right side. That's a lot of speed.
Yeah.
It's a lot of speed. It's potentially a decent amount of skill. It's
Some annoying guys to play against.
Puljujarvi would fit Colorado's identity in that his skating and his forechecking and all that.
Yep.
Play perfectly. All of that goes really well in Colorado. All of that fits naturally. That he's very responsible defensively. He works hard there. He actively backchecks. This is not a guy that you have an effort issue with. This is not a guy that you have character problems with. It's just a guy where you just say, why hasn't it worked?
Yeah.
What is the disconnect in Edmonton?
Well, we have his career play driving numbers on both ends of the ice here.
Yeah, and it goes to show you, look, and again, on offense is the top part of this. Defense is the bottom part of this. Offense positive numbers are good. Defense negative numbers are good. So he, in the last 2 seasons, especially since he got back to North America, my goodness.
Yeah, wow.
His defense has been very, very good. The 1 year of quality offense.
Yeah, the 1 year he drove the crap out of it. This is all relative to league average, by the way. So even a plus what he's at this year with +2, that means he's an above average play driver. And he's an elite suppressor on defense at the -10. If he can, even if those numbers, if he gets to Colorado and those numbers go down to a -5 and a +7 or something, you're in love with that.
Right.
Like hell, even if those numbers stay exactly the same.
Right. I was gonna say, yeah.
As long as
fine with that.
the one concern is, can he give you some kind of production?
That's my concern. Is I'm worried, especially with the production of. I'm not sure you can play this guy up in your lineup if you need to. The way you got that out of Lehkonen in previous years.
And I think that's fine.
Okay.
Don't ask him to be Lehkonen and don't ask him to be Nichushkin. Ask him to be him.
Yeah.
Be the first organization to just say, who you are is fine with us.
And
we want you to continue to be exactly what you've been.
Yep.
And if you get better, we're all excited about this.
And was that not kind of the thought process with Val Nichushkin when they brought him here? They were like, we're fine.
When he got 25 points or whatever his first year, we were all thrilled.
Right.
The fact that
we
he
all looked at that as a bonus. Right.
That he became what he has become is a huge victory for the Avalanche.
Right.
And even if he had just stayed what he was, it would have been fine because they wouldn't have needed to go out and get certain other guys because that role would have been filled.
Right.
So, and that was a little different because you're talking about free agency, right?
Of course. I'm more talking about once he's on the team.
Literally nothing,
Yeah.
but also the trade price for Edmonton, it just can't, the guy has 10 points.
Right, it can't be that much. You've been trying to move him for 3 years. He has 10 points.
If they were willing to take a 4th round pick, they would have done it by now.
Right.
So it's like, what are they after? What do they want?
What is the real cost?
See,
And that for me remains the biggest unknown of maybe this is why Colorado can't make this work.
Right. And because to your point of like this would probably be the only move up front, I just look at this and I say, what has been the biggest conversation that we've had going back to preseason under the assumption of health, right? Because obviously the health of this roster has thrown everything out of whack in terms of how we've talked about it. But going into this season, it was the depth, right? That was really kind of what the concern was. There was the talk about 2C, but we all kind of knew that they had patchwork solutions there. And I think kind of
between Newhook, Rodriguez, and Comfer,
right,
we figured the entire regular season will let us know if there's,
and a Mikko
if there's a
Rantanen
chance.
flex in and out.
Yeah.
We all said we think they can kind of patch it over there. I think the way that Evan Rodriguez has kind of started to play with Nathan McKinnon, the way that Mikko Rantanen has played this year, it gives you more confidence to split them up. I just think that if you get Val Nichushkin and Gabe Landeskog back, you are comfortable with some type of configuration in your top 6. I think that you feel pretty okay there. So we're back to the depth conversation. You add Matt Nieto. Okay, even if Darren Helm isn't coming back, you feel good about your 4th line.
Yeah.
Suddenly you drop Jesse Puljujarvi into your 3rd line. I don't know. I feel pretty good about where they're sitting in terms of a healthy forward core, assuming you get those guys back in the way that you want to.
It would give you that 3rd line, and your 4th line goes Cogliano and LOC with someone in the middle,
right,
to be determined.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
And just I just think that this is a move that, like you said, the question mark of why he's still an Oiler is the one kind of wrinkle to this. But I just take a step back and say, if you're not going to swing for the fences, this is a guy that I think you could plug in right now and say, be a bottom 6 guy right now. That's all we need of you. And he's still young enough. He's got the longer term potential that if you can work him into your system and you can get some type of results in the ballpark of what you've gotten out of Val Nichushkin or Terry Lehkonen, this is a potential future top 6 guy for you, but you don't need him to be that right now. And that's why I think he would be a good fit for this year and potentially someone you can keep beyond. and he may not cost you very much to bring back, given where the production
that
finishes.
$3 million
Yeah.
is probably going.
Right.
It probably gets cut in
And
half.
that's we're not going to get too far into it as we're wrapping up the video, but the Avs do keep his rights as an RFA.
Right,
So.
and he's RFA.
It is part of the appeal as well as the age, the RFA status that, and that's where you do evoke some memory of Arturi Lehkonen, where hey, if you go fishing at the deadline for RFAs.
Right.
You might be a lot better business.
We do have a graphic for kind of his career arc here that we can throw up on the screen. You can see where he's gone. Obviously, in his return to Edmonton, his scoring has dropped quite a bit.
It's the finishing that has really struggled the last 2 seasons. Why can't he score goals?
Yep.
You know, why can't he score goals? You know, he had in game 1 or 2, I don't remember, against the Avs in the conference final. He had an opportunity on the doorstep, and he pushed it well wide.
Yep.
And again,
he was a foot away, and if that was an anomaly, I wouldn't remember it. But you go and you watch him a lot, and you'll see the game is there's so much to like about the game. It's the last. He's on the 1 yard line there,
and that's
being a really good NHL player.
That's the one part that you can't, because there's a lot of guys that we can point to that, yeah, coming to Colorado, you're going to get to play with better players than you ever have. He's the one guy you can't say that about, and so you have to hope that for the offense to come, it would come down to he fits better systematically here in Colorado, because
different environment, different structure, different expectations, different all these other things.
Not that Colorado doesn't like to get up and down the ice fast, but just so much of Edmonton is straight lines north-south, get up, get down, get up, get down.
likes his complicated systems for sure.
Right, and so just, it's something with maybe a little bit more structure. That's what you'd have to point to and say, well, hopefully that's the offensive system that he thrives in, because you're not going to say that you're going to pair him with more talented players or anything like that. That's definitely the one caveat.
Should Pool Party be a Colorado Avalanche player? Let us know down in the comments. We got many more of these videos coming over the next 10 or so days leading up to the deadline. Keep you informed on all of the Avs' potential options. Be sure to tune in. There'll be a playlist on YouTube, so be sure to like and subscribe. Go watch the whole playlist. We will talk to you in the next video.